Hi, I'm Christy Gustafson Barletti with Times Union and TimesUnion.com, and welcome to 20 Things Plus, where each week we catch up with somebody who was previously featured on the Times Union's 20 Things You Don't Know About Me. Today, we are going to be joined by UAlbany men's basketball head coach, Will Brown, and he is going into his 20th season as head coach of the UAlbany men's basketball team. Hi, Will.
How are you?
Good. I really appreciate you joining us today too, because I know you're just getting ready you're just in the very early stages of kind of kicking off practice and that part of the season and everything else. But we will get to that in a little bit. So first, we're going to have you update us on a couple of your original 20 things, and then we'll learn a few new things about you. So let's start with one of your vacation mentions. I know originally you had talked to us about, you said, I will never do this. And this summer that all changed. What happened?
Well, obviously the pandemic, and spent a lot of time with my family, and my wife guilted me into going to Maine. I think I went one time, maybe 17, 18 years ago. My wife and her family had been going to York Beach for years, so I don't like seafood. And then when I went 17 or 18 years ago, I was at the beach, walked to the water, put my foot in the water, and I almost passed out at how cold it was.
Yeah, Maine
I'm
Ocean.
a guy that can lay on the beach and read a book. My wife can read 2 or 3 books in a day, work on her tan. For me, I need to be doing something. So I don't like seafood. The water is ridiculously cold. I don't like laying on the beach. So not a good match for me. So somehow my wife twisted my arm, and with my older son starting college, she's like, we don't know how many opportunities we're going to get moving forward. So I had to be the good dad, the good husband, take one for the team, and I went with them to Maine.
Yes, when I saw those photos on Instagram, I thought, what is Will doing in Maine? I remember him telling us, never, never, never. Well, and I won't ask you if you hit the clam shack there, the one that was on the Today Show, because if you're not into seafood, you're not going to the clam shack.
But here's the deal with that. So we go to these seafood restaurants. I'm with my in-laws, my brother and sister-in-law, and their kids. So I'm the guy that goes to the seafood restaurants and gets the one non-seafood item, which is usually a hamburger or chicken parm.
And sometimes it's on the kids' menu. Sometimes the only place to find the non-seafood item at a seafood place is on the kids' menu.
Well, you let the secret out. So I am in my late 40s ordering off the kids' menu at some of these restaurants. So I did have chicken fingers and mac and cheese at a few of these restaurants on vacation. But I will say I was able to find a few good ice cream spots in Maine, which made it work.
Yeah, isn't Brown's in York Beach?
Yes.
It is, and it's awesome there. Now, do you think you'll go back next year, or is it a one and done?
That was one and done. I think I'll wait another 17 or 18 years before I go back.
All right, very good. Now we're going to move on to your second one. This is perfect. We were just talking ice cream, and we're going to keep talking food, a little bit more junk food. And I love this picture. This is so funny.
Yeah, I mean, ice cream and cider donuts are 2 of my favorites. I used to be on the Entenmann's chocolate chip cookie kick, but the outlet near our house closed down, so I don't have access to the Entenmann's chocolate chip cookies like I once did. So usually I go 2 or 3 days in a row and eat a dozen cider donuts, and then every night, I'll go to the freezer and grab some ice cream. So as you can tell, I'm a health nut. My wife likes to remind me that I'm setting a terrible example for our children. And we had a candy store open up about a mile or 2 from our house. So 2 or 3 times a week, I hit the Candy Cottage for some chocolate. So, this time of year, it's perfect. I need that sugar boost to keep me going during the season. And it's part of my diet. I'm not proud of it, but I do enjoy it.
It's a wonder that you're trim when you eat a dozen donuts, in 3 days?
Yeah, I used to feel like I was trim. My weight really hasn't gone up, but everything has shifted, and not in a good way. So I'm not as trim and fit as I once felt I was. So at some point I have to start working out again, or I'm going to be in real trouble.
I was going to say, is between age and the pandemic and sitting still, but now you'll be moving now that the season has started.
I blame it on both age and the pandemic. It has nothing to do with the diet. It's the age and the pandemic.
It's always great when there's an excuse and something else to look toward.
No
Okay, now let's learn a couple of new things about you. And the first one is about your son. And this is exciting, and I'm sure you're very proud. And there was also a little change here too. So tell us about that.
Yeah, my older son graduated from high school. He had committed a year ago to play for a Division III school in Boston. And with all the time spent home during the pandemic, I think he got real nervous about leaving his family. So he decided to decommit to that school in Boston, wanted to stay closer to home, thought about going to another school. And then, I learned that he had been talking to my wife on a pretty consistent level about, you think I can go play dad, redshirt for the year, work really hard, get better, see how the year goes, and then figure out my next move. But he really didn't discuss it with me. It was more something that he and his mother had discussed. And then finally, after discussing it with my wife, talking to both sets of grandparents, I'm the last one to find out about this. And sure enough, he came to me, and I wanted to make sure he understood what he would potentially be getting himself into. My wife was a nervous wreck. She didn't think it was a good idea because she didn't want anything to disrupt the dynamic at home, father, mother, son, brother. So I think at first she was trying to talk him out of it, trying to get him to understand how difficult it would be playing for me, but then also locker room life, because, all of his teammates aren't all going to love Coach Brown. I've been doing this a long time. Usually the kids that are playing really like the coaching staff. The kids that aren't playing all think they should be playing and complain about it. And I said, listen, you're going to be in that locker room. What are you going to do where you hear guys complaining? And, he just said, hey, I'll deal with it the right way. I'll get up, I'll leave the locker room. He goes, if I really don't like what I hear, I'll address it, and then I'll leave the locker room. But I had called a couple of coaches in the business that have experienced it. One of the calls I made was the former Siena coach, Fran McCaffrey, who is at Iowa now, and he is coaching two of his sons. And so we had a nice talk. We had some good laughs. But one thing Fran said to me, he goes, listen, Will, he goes, this is time that you will have with your son that you ordinarily would not. So embrace it, run with it, enjoy it. He said, I look at it as I'm very lucky. I've got two of my sons that I'm coaching at the same time. So he goes, it's going to be easy. Don't let it eat at you, consume you. Embrace it, enjoy it, and make sure you don't do anything bad enough where he'll pick up the phone and call mom immediately.
Or he'll be the one in the locker room bashing you. It'll be like everyone else is like, Coach Brown's awesome. And your son will be like, oh, no, he's not.
Well, I can see Jackson be like, hey, don't worry about it, guys. I'm mad at him. My mom's not talking to him. All good.
And now, have you ever coached him even in his early years when he was kind of playing community or town basketball or anything like that?
Not at all. What he and I have done, he really didn't pick up the game until the 9th grade. So he was a baseball kid. So what we did is once he told me, after his sophomore year, Dad, I really would like to try to play college basketball. I explained to him we have to make up for a lost time, a lot of hard work. It's going to be some tough days. And if you want me to help you, there's going to be some really tough days. But trust me, I've got your back, and I want to help you achieve your goal. So we had some tough times, some days where he put down the ball and walked out of the gym, or when we worked out at home, walked in the house. The good thing was, as much as my wife, wants me to obviously help him, but be fair to him, she is really good at kicking him in the rear end and saying, get back out there, suck it up. This is what you want. and Dad said he would promise to help get you to the level you want to get to. So what we really did is the last couple of years, we found a happy medium. I have to understand that, yes, he's coming to play for me, but he's also my son. And I want to make sure that we enjoy these times. 10, 15 years down the road, I want to be able to talk about the fun we had, talk about the good, the bad, but hopefully a lot of it's going to be positive. It's going to be fun. But I also want to try to set an example for my 10-year-old because I want him to see the dynamic, and I'm hopeful that he wants to be a part of it as well.
Well, and I think, like you said, what Fran's point, that this is an opportunity that very few people have. And frankly, if there was no pandemic, you would not have had. So
I'm lucky in that regard. I mean, as
yeah.
much as the pandemic has presented us with so many challenges that are bigger and more difficult than sport, it's provided an opportunity for me to at least coach my son this year, and really at that bonding time. We've already left a workout and have gone and had dinner together. We've had breakfast together. And again, like you said, he would be in another state playing for another coach, and I would be consumed with my team. Now I get to be consumed with my team, but one of those individuals is my son. And I'll tell you this, the other day after our first workout, first practice on Wednesday, he says to me after practice, he's sitting down in a chair and he goes, "Hey, Dad, you have any money on you? I need a few bucks. I want to grab something to eat." So two of his teammates were right next to him. So I said, "Hey," I said, "you're setting a bad precedent." I said, "Are any of your teammates asking me for money right now?" He looks right at me and he goes, "Dad, none of my teammates live with you. I live with you. Practice is over. You're my dad now. Do you have $10 so I can grab something to eat?" And a couple of his teammates got a good kick out of it. And but it's been very rewarding for me right now in a very short period of time.
I love it. And I love how he's coaching you on the rules of parenting.
Well, I need a lot of help in that area for sure.
Like it. Very nice. Okay, so the next one is another nice change and a nice development in your life, about a little thing that you and your wife, not a little thing, actually, a big thing, although you called it little, this summer. What happened?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know it happened 2 years ago. I'm off on my timing. I apologize.
yeah, a couple of years ago, my wife and I, we bought a small lake house up at Casa Una Lake. One of a good friend of mine, Lee Saravillo, and his family. Lee's the head of our alumni association here at the university. They had bought a place up on Casa Una Lake. We were looking for someplace quiet, on the water, or I should say, my wife was looking for someplace on the water. So this place happened to go up for sale. We bought it. I am a pool guy. I'm the ultimate pool guy. I need to see what I'm swimming in. I need to be able to look down and know that I'm safe.
That is so wussy. I would not expect it.
No doubt. I am the king of wusses.
You're a water wuss between the cold ocean and the lake not being able to see the bottom.
I cannot even argue with you, Christian. And if I do argue with you right now, when I go home and my wife and boys have seen this, they are going to laugh at me to no end. So what happens now is if I go in the water at the lake, we have to go to the deepest part of the lake, the center of the lake where it's about 29 feet. And I jump in. So this way my feet touch nothing. And if there even is a fish or a turtle that I see or anywhere near me, I'm right back on the boat. And speaking of the boat, and I think I told you this, we bought the boat with the lake house. Have never driven a boat in my life. It's a big pontoon boat. Now that picture's the rowboat. I can handle the rowboat.
Yeah.
But our pontoon boat is on the other side of the dock, and it's not in that picture. So on my way up there, and I shouldn't be talking about this, but I had a tutorial on my phone of how to drive a pontoon boat because when we got up there, I wanted to take it out, do some fishing, and We've had it for 2 years. I've bottomed it out twice. The motor was okay. The bottom of the boat was okay. So I'm a work in progress, but I do enjoy going out on the boat. That's probably what I like most about the lake house. If it was up to my wife, during the pandemic, she lived up there with my younger son for about 10 weeks. And I would go up every Thursday night and come back every Sunday night. So my wife would live there if she could. But for me, I've got to drive probably 7 or 8 miles to find a pizza spot or junk food. So I'm still getting adjusted to it, but it is quiet and peaceful. But my wife loves it. My younger son loves it. My older guy and I are kind of built the same. I think we are more pool guys, but we do like the fishing aspect of the lake.
That's amazing. It just makes me laugh that your reaction is so strong to water that's not a pool. But all right. All right. And now you mentioned your older son and you said he's like you, and I know where he's playing on the team. So you mentioned practice has started. It started earlier this week, right? I think today is your second workout or second practice. What is the season like and what's going on with that? Because it's just weird right now with sports.
Yeah, everything's been crazy since mid-March. When the pandemic hit, our players actually went home because it was spring break. And they never came back from spring break because of the pandemic. So all their classes, they finished the spring semester up remotely. And then we usually have our guys on campus for 6 weeks in the summer, and they train, they take 1 or 2 classes, none of that this summer. And then they came back, I think the first day of classes, fall semester, was August 24th. Some of the kids had to come back on the 10th of August because they were on the governor's travel ban list. They were in those hot states. So they had to quarantine starting August 10th. So literally I had some guys here from August 10th all the way until about last week, until they were able to do any type of activity. Last week, we started lifting weights and doing some conditioning. We're allowed to, we started practice this week. Our first practice was Wednesday, but it's no contact. Small groups, we have to wear masks. We're in what they call the first week of phase 2. We literally have to complete 3 phases to start contact. We're hoping the first week of November, we can actually have some contact. So right now, a lot of skill work, physical distance, masks. We're testing every week. Health and safety is the #1 priority right now, which I think is awesome. We have all this pool testing being done on campus. So our guys, by the time we start what I like to say real practice with contact that first week in November, it'll be like 230 days since they've had organized practice with contact. So it's something from a coaching standpoint. I've been coaching for a long time, have never experienced it. Our players haven't, but it's all about adapting and adjusting. We have some great people here at the university. We're all working together to make it a healthy and safe environment academically and athletically, so we can make sure everyone on campus stays healthy and that we are helping everybody in the community stay healthy as well.
And I'm guessing you've maybe spoken to other coaches and things like that, because I'm guessing you had to rework your drills or work some additional things into practice, right? Since you're not playing traditional, practice games.
Yeah, and I've learned quite a bit about this, especially since the summer. Every state is different. Every university is different. And then every county is different. So, and then the NCAA has some guidelines. So you've got some NCAA guidelines. Then you get into the state guidelines. You have the county guidelines, and you have the institution's guidelines. So there's a lot there. So there are some schools in our league that have been working out with contact since school started. And then, we're a little bit different. Schools in our league, there's 10 schools, everybody's a little bit different based on the state, county, and institution. I am proud to say that, we have really embraced all of the COVID protocols, the health and safety. We're doing a great job of protecting our students and our student athletes here at the university. So I told our kids, let's control what we can control. We adapt, we adjust, and there's zero excuses. We just have to continue to work and find a way to make sure we're getting better every day and we're doing things the right way.
Now, when is your first game? Do they know that for sure yet, or what's going on with that?
Well, the NCAA allows the first game to be played on November 25th. Since we're not going to start contact until the first week in November, I don't think we'll be ready to play on the 25th, so we don't have a game scheduled. We do have one scheduled for November 28th. Now, that's only a couple of days later, but eventually we're going to have to play. As long as I'm comfortable that our guys are in shape, that they're at no risk of injury, and that from a competitive standpoint, we can go on that court and have a good chance to win, that's when we'll play. With that being said, eventually we're going to have to play sooner than later, because then we're going to run out of dates to play, because our conference schedule, will happen at some point. So we're just going to have to make the most of it. And, again, our guys have been really good about embracing everything, controlling what we can control. And it's our job as coaches to work with our players and our athletic administration and support team to, get our guys ready and go out there and compete and represent the university as best as we can.
Well, your team is lucky to have you because you have a very positive attitude. I hear all that and I think, what happened to a level playing field? Because that does not sound like a level playing field, but it'll certainly be interesting to see, with the different states having different rules and things like that. But it will be interesting to see how it goes this year. And I know, everyone in the area is always watching to see how your team is doing each year. So I very much appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about all this. It was interesting and fun. But before you go, I want you to play a little game with me, please. Okay. So every Monday, we run the new 20 Things You Don't Know About Me. And on our Friday version, we have the guest, in this case, it's you, obviously, tried to take a guess at who we may be featuring on Monday. And viewers and readers can also guess by tweeting at Times Union, tweeting me at Just Christie, or commenting on the Facebook, Times Union Facebook video. So here are the.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, here are the 3 clues. Are you going to try to make an excuse for me before I even give you the clues?
Oh, you're definitely going to give me the clues. I thought you were holding out on me.
I'm going to give you the clues. Then you can try to make an excuse, but you can't do it till you get the clues. All right, Here we go. The first one is, I grew up in Oradell, New Jersey, a small town in Bergen County near several shopping malls. I've lived in New York now for about 10 years, counting college. The next one is, I started my career at WENY News in Elmira near the Finger Lakes. I was the anchor and producer of our weekday morning newscast, Good Morning Twin Tiers. And then the last one, this is what I'm thinking maybe because this is sports related. My first year at CBS 6, I did a story about a charity baseball game for the Broadbent family who was impacted by a horrific house fire. I interviewed one of the firefighters named Jeff, and days later I went to a fundraiser Jeff was hosting for the family. He and I hit it off. We started dating, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So she's a reporter at CBS 6. She's been in the area for 10 years. Do you have any guesses at all? She's not a sports reporter, I'll tell you that.
She's not, you said?
Not a sports reporter. No.
Yeah, I was just going to guess a sports reporter, female. I do not have a good guess for you. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and he'll get a kick out of this, I'm going to say it's Brian Cody.
Oh my gosh.
I'm all in on Brian Cody.
Brian and I have a very long relationship. I've known Brian a long time. He and I do a radio segment together every week. I love Brian, but it is so not Brian. He doesn't have the skills of this woman. Not at all.
I just figured I'm going to make sure he sees this. And I don't even have a good guess for you.
No, Brian's C-list, she's A-list.
Well, you're giving Brian a lot of credit for being C-list.
I'm trying to be nice. Let's go to D.
D.
Yeah.
You and I are on the same page. He's a D-lister for sure.
Brian's a D-lister. This woman's an A-lister. She works at CBS 6 Albany, and you can learn more about her on Monday's 20 Things You Don't Know About Me, which will go live at 7 a.m. on timesunion.com. Thank you again, Will, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe.